So don't look now, but the Me Too movement is back. But this time, what's being attacked isn't women, it's academic integrity. And once again, we look to Harvard, the DeVry of the East. They don't know who DeVry is. Trust me, that joke worked in the meeting. Sherry Ann Charleston, the chief diversity officer at the university, has just been accused of roughly 40 instances of plagiarism in her PhD dissertation and in the single academic paper she published in her career. There would be more accusations of plagiarism, but she was too lazy to write more than one fake paper. Which begs the question, who was the last person to have an original idea at Harvard? John Adams? Al Gore? Barack Obama? You know, Barack must be sweating right now. Not from plagiarism, he just ate a really spicy dog.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Now, Charleston's husband is also a professor, and according to the reports, her one publication even ripped off the research that he did back in 2012. Wait, a woman bringing up something her husband did years ago? That's not plagiarism. That's marriage.
A sexist would say.
Or any married man.
Yeah. But coming on the heels of Harvard President Claudine Gay being forced to resign over the same thing, Charleston's scandal is looking like Harvard's own academic version of the Me Too movement. Suddenly, a suppressed truth is being dragged, kicking and screaming into the light. Call it a reckoning, and it's wrecking academia. But what'd you expect? This is a school that hired such luminaries as Bill de Blasio, Lori Lightfoot, and yes, even Brian Stelter. I mean, what could Brian be teaching? How to roll naked in a pile of flour to find a lost remote? There's an image. So why is this important? Well, first, take one world-class institution, add DEI, and you get a sleepaway camp for 7,000 graduates whose only expertise is tearing down statues and replacing them with men's tampon vending machines. You know, they've taken a good name and ruined it. Like Madonna.
I thought you were going to say they took a good face, but that was
Now, academia has been trending hyper-progressive for decades while pushing out all other competing ideas. You get more diverse opinions from a panini press. But it was the 2020 George Floyd incident that really took DEI from an idea to an ideology, because any suggestion to pump the woke brakes made you a racist killer. And so near the end of 2020's Summer of Love and Looting, Harvard wasted no time in hiring Charleston to be its first chief diversity enforcer, who then served on the committee that picked Claudine Gay to take over as the school's new president. Perhaps as plagiarists, they knew they could copy off each other. According to Harvard's own school paper, the new president was chosen after the shortest search in 70 years. It's almost as if they already knew what to hire and just worked backwards. It's like when Fox decided they wanted the most unpopular man on earth to host the 8 p.m. slot. I couldn't compete. And as you'd expect, when you don't vet a candidate's academic achievements, you get Claudine Gay, whose academic record turned out to be as spotty as Hunter's penis.
Oh, God.
Unnecessary, but hey. Of course, Harvard panicked, even threatening to sue the New York Post for immense damages for reporting the story. How could this happen, they cried. Claudine Gay was the perfect diversity hire. She couldn't have done anything wrong because she didn't do anything, period. But when the investigator herself, Charleston, needs to be investigated, you see how corrupting DEI really is. It gives mediocre people authority to be bigots and the power to protect themselves from the laws that they push on others. And as progressives push DEI into all aspects of American life, it's no wonder we're losing faith in our institutions, which are crumbling faster than a city run by a Democrat mayor. Now, this does not mean that minorities cannot be highly accomplished. Liz Warren's a senator. But if you narrow the field to a select identity, which is racist, by the way, you make it harder to find a competent person because everyone else is doing the same thing. They're all fishing from the same small pond. Pretty soon, all you have left are worms, frogs, and cars driven by a Kennedy.
Oh, gosh.
Too soon.
And now it's destroying the very college campuses that created it, but only because they were caught, and not by the legacy media, but by conservative upstarts. So not only is DEI illogical and un-American, it's also insulting to minorities who do succeed based on merit, because the message to them is whites can succeed on their own merit, but you can't. And so the real racists, they're on the left. They don't wear sheets over their heads anymore, although, some really should. But there's more, and it's worse. Now a Harvard teaching hospital is being forced to correct dozens of research papers by 4 of its top researchers who are accused of falsifying data. So remind me not to have my pec reduction surgery in Boston. So just in the way of everything.
Yeah.
But it's really scary. I'm not that bent out of shape if a diversity hire runs a diversity program. But hospitals, do you want your surgeon to slide through for reasons that have nothing to do with skill? Ask any liberal after 2 beers who they'd want operating on their kid, and DEI goes out the window faster than a window on a 737. Fact is, if this country is going to have a future in an increasingly competitive and dangerous world, it needs to recover the meritocracy that built the place to begin with. And that includes talented minorities. And they exist, even if the left wants you to think they don't. Let's welcome tonight's guest. This anchor always floats my boat. Host of Fox News at Night, Trace Gallagher. She'll go anywhere that men are showering for an interview. Former NFL sideline reporter Michelle Tafoya. She lives on cloud 9 because clouds 1 through 8 evicted her. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Cat 2. And when he puts his foot down, someone gets a new swimming pool. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion Tyrus. Trace, you look great, by the way.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that.
You're the second best looking guy at Fox.
What? It's me.
So, we can make fun of all this DEI stuff when it's in like gender studies, but when you hear teaching hospital, that kind of scares me.
The plagiarism thing really is baffling, though, because there's been so many cases of it, and every case has a different excuse. I mean, they won't say the word plagiarism. Fabrication, sure. Falsified, sure. Because, in America today, you can lie and cheat. It's totally fine. But if you plagiarize, you are in big trouble. We have heard every excuse except, no, it wasn't plagiarism. I was just retweeting something.
Or
repurposing something. So it's crazy, and it's so easy now. You just go on the internet, and you lift it, and you go. When you and I were younger, plagiarism was work. You had to go to the library to steal it, right? You had to go to the library, you had to lift it, and you had to do work, and now it's so easy.
When I would go to the library and plagiarize from like a book, I would have to go everywhere, every library, and take that book out so nobody could find out.
And buy all the others.
I had 4,000 copies of The Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
I just made that up, Michelle. What's interesting? So Trace brings up this plethora of plagiarism. I believe so they're finding it in these DEI experts, but I think it's caused by DEI because when you elevate individuals who aren't as qualified, plagiarism is necessary to appear competent. They need to find it somewhere else.
Well, it's publish or perish when you're at a university, right? And so I think they just regurgitate a lot of this. You asked an important question. Is there any original thought at Harvard? Does the name Roland Fryer ring a bell to you?
Oh, yes.
The economist, black economist, winner. He was the youngest African-American ever tenured at Harvard. He was doing incredible research. The problem was his research, A, was original, and B, it didn't fit the narrative.
Right.
He did some research that showed that blacks and Hispanics are not more likely to be shot by police.
I remember this.
This got everybody's panties in a bunch, if you will forgive me for saying that. And so no one liked that, and he's black, so they were like, he's kind of going against the grain here. Well, cut to some trumped-up sexual harassment charges against him, and what do you know? The university says, you know what, you need some sensitivity training.
Yeah.
But a small panel, including Claudine Gay and Larry Bobo, another black social studies professor, said, no, that's not enough. We're suspending you for 2 years without pay, and you will never teach students at this university again, and your lab is gone. So now this guy is still with Harvard, and he still does some writing. But this guy was a brilliant economist. And people think that what happened to him at Harvard was absolutely a travesty.
Yep.
So here you have a brilliant black economist, young, up-and-coming superstar, and they ruined him.
Yeah, because he didn't toe the line.
Right.
He must have been happy to see the news, to see old Claudine Gay hoisted on her own petard. I just came up with that. I think that's what it means. You know, I really don't know what that means. Kat, you know, I was thinking, and I do that sometimes, why don't they come up with a new identity box and just call it plagiarist?
Ooh.
And that way, when you're caught, you can say, wait, I'm a non-binary person of color plagiarist. And you go, oh, geez, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Right.
Do you think that's a good idea, Kat?
No,
Okay.
I don't. So I thought it was interesting that the diversity chief, the plagiarism, and that it came from an anonymous source. Mm-hmm. Was it Claudine Gay?
Ooh,
Just to start a conspiracy theory.
I like that.
Maybe she was like, you're all going down with me. Mm-hmm. I was also very confused by the plagiarizing your husband's work. I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
Because you're married, so it's all half. But
That's funny.
But also, it was actually a paper from a paper they wrote together. So what she did is she kind of repurposed it as a new paper, which you can't do that. Like, if you didn't get the work done, just be like, I didn't get it done.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's actually, I'm surprised how common this apparently is.
Yeah.
I didn't go to post-grad because I couldn't afford it. Now I'm like, man, I wish I would have I could just do it right now.
You could if you want to. But it is true that I believe, and we're joking about Barack Obama sweating. I bet there are a lot of people that you know who are freaking out because now you've got these conservative outfits like analyzing. It's really easy. I think they must have like computer programs or algorithms that can figure it out.
Well, I think the term you're looking for, if their pronoun is echo,
Yeah.
then they can plagiarize whatever they want.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So identify as an echo.
Very good. I like that.
Just go with that. Yeah. This, to the very core of me, it bothers me because I hate grouping, right? And this is why I hate grouping. Because if anyone was just innocently watching TV and they're like, wow, 2 black people of power in the college cheated. So I guess they all cheat. So the message, and you can't argue with that because the odds of 2 it's crazy, right? And then you have to live in that stigma. So they're creating an environment that makes everyone will generalize. Well, if a black professor is in charge of a school, he probably cheated. Because that's what they'll put you in there. They're recreating the same thing. It used to be every time brothers walked into a grocery store, everyone needs to pay attention because that's all we saw. We only saw the negative things. Now at the highest level, we're seeing they're not interested in black candidates of character and of substance like the gentleman you're talking about. They're interested in blacks who fall in line with their programming, who will just echo what they say. And as long as you echo what they say, you will get treats like jobs you're clearly not qualified for. And if anybody challenges you, that's when you play the black card. Because everyone's like, oh, they're after her because she's black. No, they're after her because she's a plagiarist. Yeah. So that's that polite racism I always talk about. Give me a Klansman every day, any day of the week. We can sit across the table and say, I don't like you. I don't like you. Let's eat food. You go your way. I'll go my way.
Yeah.
By the way, tell your daughter I said hello.
Do they really come for peace when they assault our police? A migrant mob viciously attacked a pair of NYPD's finest in Times Square on Saturday night. Surveillance footage shows an officer and a lieutenant telling migrants to move along, but the illegals soon pummeled them to the ground, beating, kicking, and punching them. I haven't seen violence like that since someone tried to snatch an Activia from Judge Janine. 4 of the 5 illegals were arrested, charged with assault, and promptly released without bail. Or as Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg calls it, justice served. One of the thugs already had 2 open cases for assault and robbery. In NYC, that's what we call an underachiever. And this 5th loser was busted for attempted assault. 3 more suspects are being sought, and the Manhattan DA's office says it's investigating, which is code for surfing porn until it's time to clock out. Meanwhile, entire pickpocketing teams of illegals are running amok all over the city. So now they're taking jobs from American pickpockets. What's next? Our precious American carjackers? Nearly 100 of these poor, downtrodden, innocent, hard-working asylum seekers are popping up as suspects in pickpocketing. Orange Devil. Yesterday, Democrat Congressman Robert Garcia lost his damn mind over Trump and his supposed proposals for the southern border. Watch.
Donald Trump actually has said that he wants to build alligator moats along the border. That's one of his incredible ideas. Another idea that Donald Trump has promoted is he actually wants to electrify the border fence and maybe even put some spikes on the border. Another idea, which I'm not sure how well it would go, is he wants to actually bomb northern Mexico with missiles. And finally, I think one of the ones that I think is the most grotesque is suggestions that instead we should maybe just shoot migrants in the legs as they cross the border. So once again, the Donald Trump and MAGA plan is alligator moats, bombing northern Mexico, shooting migrants in the legs, and electrifying the fence and putting spikes on them.
Wow, these are all great ideas. I kid, but am I really? I am kidding. Am I? I am. Am I? But keep in mind, anonymous insiders were the ones who told the New York Times about the alligators, electric fence, spikes, and snipers back in 2019. Who even knows if that's really what Trump wants to do? Or if he was kidding when he said it? God knows I was joking when I said, great job, Kat.
Aw, thanks, guys.
But come on, alligators? We all know that the best border defense is a pod of hungry, bloodthirsty hippos. Michelle. Yes. So it's kind of weird, like that what happened in Times Square is like a microcosm of everything. Chaos versus order. And it's like, in almost all walks of life right now, we're seeing more and more chaos.
And you know, it's funny you use the word chaos, because I watched that videotape and I say, or recording, and I say to myself, people are calling the Republicans and the MAGA extremists and Trump the party of chaos. Well, if that's it seems to me that if you reelected Trump, we'd have far less chaos than we've had in the last 3 years under Biden. This is disgusting. Yeah. We could not possibly have more chaos than we've had under this current president. The second part of this whole thing is, this is why you don't put those damn hearings on TV. These are like cartoon commercials for these candidates. And you're right. Notice they didn't put up any Truth Social posts or tweets or quotes where Trump actually said that. Look, I'm no Trump apologist, but they didn't do that because there aren't any.
Right.
Because they took it from this anonymous source. Yeah. And then he made this big fun poster that was really kind of cool, and he'll fundraise off of it. These things turn into total circuses.
Yeah, you know, Kat, the upside is at least those attackers weren't dressed as cartoon characters. Because usually that's the case on Times Square.
Well, okay, so the New York Post also was sure to cite in the article, so I'll say now, that it's only a small percentage of migrants that are attached to crimes, right? You also mentioned the guy who already has 2 open assault cases and robbery cases, and I just wanted to share the details of that because it's a little wild. At Macy's in Herald Square, he punched a loss prevention officer, and then an employee at a Nordstrom Rack, he pushed, punched, and bit. Bit. Imagine you're going to work at Nordstrom Rack, okay?
Yeah.
You're already bummed. You want to work at regular Nordstrom, and you work You're working at the rack, but you're like, maybe if I do a really good job at the rack, I can go to the regular Nordstrom. And then someone comes in and bites you? That's insane. So all this to say, yeah, my issue with the guy is certainly not that he's a migrant. He's a madman.
Yeah. No, but it's
do
always
not behave that way.
I know, but also I said this today on the 5. It's not about the people, it's about the policies.
Yeah.
And the Dems always make it about, oh, you're talking about the people, they're mostly peaceful. No, we're talking about the policy.
Right.
I didn't know there was a rivalry between Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rack.
Well, there is and isn't. But here's the thing about Nordstrom's Rack. It's the only place you get plus-size shoes.
Yeah.
So I can never go to the regular Nordstrom. So I just lied to my children and said the Rack was better.
What is the Nordstrom Rack then?
You're rich. That's why you don't know.
Oh.
It's
Where you get it as a discount. Yeah.
Oh, I get it. It's like
the second-hand
You would be
Nordstrom.
caught dead in a Nordstrom.
It's the
rack.
bargain table at the pharmacy.
Yeah.
But I refuse to raise my children to believe that we do the lower end racking.
What do you make of this, Tyrus?
2 thoughts. First, the mayor of New York City was a police officer, correct?
Yeah.
So you would think messing with our men and women in blue would be a really bad idea. Mm-hmm. The years that they would stack up on you, because he's been there, boots on the ground, but not. And while we're looking at that video, just so you know, these guys weren't trying to fight. They were trying to kick him in the head.
Yeah.
Kill shot. Although, it is a kill shot. They were trying to line him up and kick him in the head. They weren't holding him. They weren't even punching him. Every one of them were trying to kick the police officer in the head. Because when you kick somebody in the head, it's lights out. And then once they're lights out, then the stomping comes and everything else.
Yeah.
We're just lucky that the police officers kept moving and kept evading, even though they were dealing with one guy. So again, and then you are also, the mayor has the power to do something with these district attorneys who are just letting them go. Right. You just let someone who attacked. What message does that send that to anyone? Forget illegal aliens. I'm not calling them immigrants. Forget the illegal aliens. Just regular crime in general. It's like the police are free. Nothing's going to happen to you. You can attack 2 policemen in broad daylight and be out in the afternoon.
If I walked around the corner and punched a cop, I'd be in jail for the foreseeable future.
Exactly.
I would not be out. And to Michelle's point, you talk about chaos. Trump was an agent of chaos. The past 3 years has been physical, legitimate chaos. And now the Biden administration is realizing chaos doesn't poll well. So they're changing up. They're saying, oh, no, I need Congress to give me authority to close the border. You have authority. And everything Trump did, you undid. And you canceled Remain in Mexico. And you canceled deportations. And you canceled the wall. And all you have to do tomorrow is sign a little order, and it all starts again. And by the way, alligators in the Rio Grande would be safer than it would be now, because they wouldn't get in the water with alligators. And now they get in the water and they are drowning every single
Brilliant idea.
day.
Thank you.
And put the alligators in the water, because you would save lives.
All right. Well, see you later, alligator. Up next, the media cry. Who should we be thanking for journalism tanking? With mass layoffs hitting major publications from Time Magazine to Sports Illustrated to the LA Times, the panic's setting in across the country. The fear is palpable, like when Don Lemon asks, is this seat taken? Check out these headlines. The Atlantic, is journalism headed toward an extinction-level event? Politico, the news business really is cratering. The state of the industry is more dire than ever. The Washington Post, journalism may never again make money. Well, this is weird. It seems like they're trying to prepare their employees for some bad news. Here come the pay toilets. Thank you, Michelle. Somebody found that funny. All right, now these doomsayers chalk the industry's problems up to not keeping up with the changing times, which is a real switch. Usually they just blame Trump. But in this case, they should have blamed him. He introduced the phrase fake news, which went from an insult to accepted fact. Hell, even Joe Biden says it when they claim he's breathing. But Trump made what we all thought in our heads palpable, that the media creates stories for the media, not for the consumers, because they hate every single one of you and then wonder why you aren't buying their lies anymore. So the mainstream media gets every big story wrong and then blames the changing times. Yeah, so it's Time's fault. Yeah, we would have succeeded if nothing changed. So where is this headed? A WAPO columnist predicts in the future, lots of news organizations will essentially be charities, asking rich people and also you to help them provide a critical service that the market won't support. Oh, so now rich people are good. Sorry, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post and it still sucks. So here's an idea. Maybe journalists should do the work to earn back the public's trust. We're not asking for anything spectacular. We just want them to gather the facts and tell us what they find. That's their job. Little things, like not hiding Joe Biden's decline or John Fetterman's stroke or Hunter's laptop. That, or maybe it's simple. They just need hotter journalists. Dreamy Trace Gallagher. I don't mean to blow Fox News' horn, although my contract is up. It seems in this decline, Fox News is not affected by this. It's like we keep growing. And my theory is that we have a strong bond with populist reporting, and we don't fall for fake news. Once in a while we might, but
we've been anti-censorship as well. And, you look at these other networks and they have been pro-censorship. You look at CNN. I watched the other day after this trial where the $83 million verdict came down against Trump and he was issuing a statement and CNN had to fact check the statement. He hadn't even issued it yet. They got a copy of it and they went through and they said, lies, lies, lies. We're not going to show this. And you think, at what point did journalists start saying, oh, we're going to tell you what your ears can take? What if we did that for the State of the Union speech for Joe Biden? Do we go through, because we all get copies of it beforehand, do we go through and we line item out and we don't listen to the parts that are lies? We denounce the whole thing and we kick it out? That's not what it's about. I mean, we saw in COVID, we saw censorship beyond the pale, and it happened, and we, as a news organization, were in favor of dissent. Every idea, throw it out there, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least it's out there, and the media is now in favor of censorship across the board.
Yeah, Kat, they're saying now it should be less of a profit-making career and more like a mission. So they're kind of admitting what they were doing all along, that they're portraying activism as journalism. Now they can just be activists.
The WAPO piece, the lack of self-awareness in it was really striking to me, talking about what are the big crises facing us and how should we be reporting on those. And one of them was Republicans being increasingly and scary in terms of how undemocratic they are, right? And that it needs to be tackled in a way not like how MSNBC does it, but still tackled, but wasn't more specific at all. And it was all about these radicalized Republicans. And I just know, don't you want to know why people become radicalized? Don't you want to examine the why? Because when someone's shouting at you like, you racist, subhuman, trash, garbage, nobody's going to look at that and say, please tell me more.
Yeah.
I want to hear more. That is a major way that people become radicalized. And I clearly, the person who wrote this has never even met a Republican, because it also equated Trumpism and Republicans, and everybody knows there's a bit of a fight in the Republican Party about Trump versus not. So really, what people do want is, I think, reporting on issues, and people don't trust the media, but you should ask yourself why people don't trust the media, why people don't want to listen. The person who wrote that really just no interest in self-examination, or maybe just truly can't see it.
Or it's stupid. That's what I say. Tyrus, it's weird. As these are all failing and dying, I feel like I've never seen so much news. Like, I can get news everywhere and anywhere.
Well, it's not news. You're getting opinions and feelings everywhere. That's the problem. The journalist is pretty much dead. That's a dinosaur, because if you're a journalist, when you're reporting a story, the narrative is irrelevant. It's the story.
Yeah.
So even if I voted Democratic and I'm doing a story on a Democratic senator, it turns out that he's getting gold bars and brand new stacks of money in his closet, I won't go into how bad Republicans are. Yeah. I will just tell the story and let the people decide the facts. And how I vote and how I feel has nothing to do with the story I'm telling. It's just the facts. But now it's feelings. And they've made business off it for a long time. The problem is they keep telling everybody it's rain, but we all say, no, this is piss on our back. Like, we're getting peed on. You're lying to us. And after a while, people don't have to turn on the news to hear someone give their opinion. Right. They get it in their house. So there's the disconnect is there. And instead of saying, listen, we've got it wrong. We never got it wrong. Times are changing. People don't have the attention span. It's everybody else's fault. And it's Republicans this. But it's funny because they always talk about how un-American Republicans are. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when President Trump lost, how many cities were burnt down by Republicans?
Yeah.
Did we even have a volunteer from the Republican Party to sit Indian style and yell, no? Did we have one? Did anyone do that? No, we did. We always did. We said, son of a bitch. Well, I got to go back to work.
I hate it when people say they're peeing on me and it turns out it's rain.
After you paid all that money.
I paid so much money, and hourly, I might add, Michelle. Last word to you.
Well, Kat and I saw some very similar things in this Washington Post piece. And what you posted up there, in the future, it's likely that lots of news organizations will be essentially run by charities asking rich people